Everybody stand for our prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear God, as I begin this lesson, I humbly come before you, seeking your guidance and blessings. Help me to be a channel of knowledge and wisdom for my students, and grant me the ability to inspire and engage them in their learning journey. May this lesson be filled with curiosity, understanding, and growth. May my words and actions be guided by kindness, patience, and empathy, fostering a safe and inclusive learning environment for all. Grant me the wisdom to adapt and personalize my teaching to meet the unique needs of each student. Help me to recognize their strengths, nurture their potential, and support them in overcoming challenges. I ask for your blessings upon my students, that they may be receptive to the knowledge shared, develop a love for learning, and find meaning and purpose in their education. May this lesson be a transformative experience, not only in the acquisition of knowledge, but also in the development of character, critical thinking, and a lifelong passion for learning. In your divine presence, I offer this prayer, trusting in your guidance and grace. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good day, everyone. I am Izavelle Trago.
Hello, I am Marjorie TRAZONA,
your teacher for today. So before we tackle our lesson, I hope that everyone is comfortable in their own houses. So in this point, let me have a short motivational activity. So I have here 6 pictures indicating and connected to our topic for today. So number 1, what do you think represents in the picture? So number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and lastly, number 6. So here are the correct answers for our motivational activity. For number 1, it represents intelligence. Number 2, it represents age. Number 3 represents the level of education. Number 4 represents discovery learning. Number 5, it represents cognitive apprenticeship. And lastly, number 6 represents inquiry learning. So that is our motivational activity. I hope that everyone gets the correct answer. So our motivational activity is connected to our lesson for today that talks about cognitive and metacognitive factors in learning. So in the previous chapter, you learned the concepts related to cognition and metacognition and the differences between these two abilities. So I will ask you, what is cognition? How about metacognition? Yes, very good. Cognition refers to the mental processes and activities involved in acquiring, processing, storing, and using information. While metacognition, it refers to the awareness and understanding of one's own cognitive processes and the ability to regulate and control these processes. You have also learned strategies and methodologies in teaching that will help your students develop their metacognitive abilities to become self-regulated learners. So in this chapter, You will learn about other factors of learning which you should be able to relate with the concepts that you have learned previously. This chapter also gives you ideas on the ground in terms of a variety of techniques and methodologies that develop students' cognitive and metacognitive faculties. But before we start our proper lesson, let me read to you our learning objectives. In the end of the discussion, the students tend to define cognitive and metacognitive factors and their importance in the learning process, analyze and evaluate different instructional strategies in developing cognitive and metacognitive based on cognitive theories, and lastly, students tend to reflect on personal cognition and metacognition development and identify areas for improvement. So here are the factors in learning related to development of cognition and metacognition. It includes intelligence, age, level of education, and use of cognitive strategies for instruction. So let's first tackle intelligence. Intelligence. It is suggested by Robert J. Sternberg, a psychologist, in his triarchic theory of intelligence, that intelligence is composed of three distinct aspects or components, and these components work together to influence an individual's ability to adapt their environment, solve problems, and achieve success in various domains. The three components of the triarchic theory are analytic intelligence, creative intelligence, and practical intelligence. So, analytic intelligence. It refers to the ability to analyze and evaluate information, solve problems, and make logical decisions. It involves the application of logical reasoning, critical thinking, and the use of strategies to solve complex problems. This component is often measured by traditional intelligence tests that assess skills such as verbal and mathematical reasoning. So, ang analytical intelligence, nag-compose na siya sa pag-solve of problems and making logical decisions. So, number 2, creative intelligence. It involves the ability to think creatively, general novel ideas, and approach problems in innovative ways. It includes the capacity for original thinking, divergent thinking, and the ability to see connections and relationships between seemingly unrelated concepts. Creative intelligence is important for generating new solutions, adapting to new situations, and thinking outside the box. So from the word creative, so creative siya nga pagka-intelligence, which is you will think outside the box. Nga mga maka-come up kang mga new ideas through this intelligence. So number 3, practical intelligence, also known as contextual or experiential intelligence, refers to the ability to apply knowledge and skills effectively in real-world situations. It involves the capacity to adapt to different contexts, understand and navigate social interactions, and use practical problem-solving strategies. Practical intelligence is essential for success in everyday life, as it encompasses skills such as common sense, street smarts, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. So practical intelligence, for being practical, which is through experience nimo na-acquire imuhang kaalam, your knowledge from experience nimo. Example lang na kanang mga common sense, your street smarts kanang kuan ba pagka-bright sa kanang binugoy nga pagka-bright, or kanang wise ka nga pagkatao, which is na-adapt nimo sa imuhang environment through your experiences. So according to Sternberg, these three components of intelligence are interrelated and work together to influence an individual's overall intelligence. he emphasized the importance of recognizing and developing all three aspects of intelligence in order to fully understand and measure a person's intellectual abilities. The triarchic theory provides a broader perspective on intelligence beyond traditional measures, highlighting the diverse ways in which individuals can demonstrate intelligence in different domains and real-world context. So, wala pa dyan na-explain no nga nung factor ang intelligence sa pag-develop sa ato ang cognitive and metacognitive abilities. So, here are few reasons why intelligence is closely linked to the development of cognition and metacognition. Number 1 is cognitive abilities. Intelligence is often associated with cognitive abilities such as reasoning, problem solving, memory, attention, and language. These cognitive abilities plays a crucial role in the learning process. Individuals with higher intelligence tend to have stronger cognitive abilities which can enhance their learning capacity and overall cognitive development. So without intelligence, dili man tali kay baw ang tao unsaon pag-solve of problems, how to memorize or how to speak kay wala man siya cognitive intelligence, which is mean nga importante jud ang intelligence to develop cognitive abilities. So number 2, information processing. Intelligence is closely tied to how individuals process and manipulate information. Higher intelligence is often associated with faster information processing, greater working memory capacity, and more efficient cognitive functioning. These cognitive processes are fundamental to learning as they facilitate the acquisition, organization, and retrieval of new knowledge. So, ang mas na ay taas og intelligence, which is we called bright or smart person, dali ra sila maka-process sa information, which is it helps to develop their cognitive and metacognitive abilities. So usa po ni siya sa hinungdan nganong factor jud ang intelligence sa pag-develop sa cognitive and metacognitive. So number 3, learning strategies. Intelligence can influence the selection and use of learning strategies. Individuals with higher intelligence often demonstrate more effective and adaptive learning strategies such as elaboration, organization, and metacognitive monitoring. They are more likely to employ efficient problem-solving techniques and engage in deep processing of information, leading to better learning outcomes. So with the help of learning strategies sad, ma-develop sad ang ato ang cognitive and metacognitive abilities. For those intelligent person, daghan sila og mga strategies how to develop their cognitive and metacognitive, which is through memorization, through kanang mga elaboration and metacognitive monitoring. Ilan ang kalingo i-practice, which is they tend to have long-term memory, which is nakadevelop sa ilang cognitive abilities. So, through that way, nga daghan sila learning strategies, na-develop ang ilahang intelligence as well as their cognition and metacognition. So, number 4, metacognitive abilities. Intelligence can also impact metacognition abilities, which are crucial for self-regulated learning. Metacognition involves monitoring one's own thinking, awareness of learning strategies, and the ability to regulate cognitive processes. Higher intelligence may contribute to better metacognitive skills, such as self-reflection, goal-setting, and self-monitoring, which can enhance learning effectiveness and metacognitive awareness. So, sa mga higher intelligence ng mga tao, mao jud nay mostly nga dali makapadevelop nga sa ilahang cognitive and metacognitive abilities, which is through self-reflection, goal-setting, and self-monitoring, which is mo na jud na ilahang naandan nga learning strategies which is to develop aron ma-develop ilahang cognitive and metacognitive abilities. So dili lang talita makaingon nga ang mga lower intelligence o mga low intelligence person is dili pud sila wa pud sila development sa ilang metacognitive abilities kay ingana wa sila mga learning strategies, but napuna siya kanang factor nga basin og genetic or through experience ang ilahang naagian nga kanang intelligence nga ilahang na-adapt sa ilang kaugalingon nga dili nila dali mapadevelop ang ilang cognitive and metacognitive abilities. So lastly, learning potential. Intelligence is often considered an indicator of an individual's learning potential. Higher intelligence is associated with a greater capacity for acquiring and assimilating new knowledge, adapting to new situations, and solving complex problems. It provides a foundation for cognitive development and the ability to engage in higher order thinking skills. So, kita man no sa tagsa nato na atay differences. We have differences, especially to our future students pohon. They have diverse abilities nga dili na to makuan, dili na to ma-judge. It is their kanang way kung saan nila pa-develop sa ilang cognitive and metacognitive. So, ang mga higher intelligence, mas na sila greater capacity for acquiring and assimilating new knowledge. So, na sila mas na sila puruhan nga makadali sila maka-adapt, makadali sila makakuha o mga new information, to solve problems, mga complex problems, as it provides a foundation for cognitive development and the ability to engage in higher order thinking skills. So in that way, nga dali ra sila maka-acquire and assimilate new knowledge, mo na ilang pinaka-foundation aron ma-develop ilang cognitive and metacognitive. So next, we have age. It is closely associated with the stages of cognitive development. Jean Piaget's stages of cognitive development asserts that cognitive abilities for abstract thinking are higher during the formal operational period. So, nganong factor man sad ang age related to the development of cognitive and metacognitive? So, first reason is brain development. The brain undergoes significant changes and development throughout different stages of life. During childhood and adolescence, the brain experiences rapid growth and structural changes, including the formation of new neural connections and the pruning of unused connections. These changes can influence cognitive abilities and the development of metacognitive skills. So, ako nag-iingon nga sa developmental stage ni Jean Piaget na connected dyan siya sa age, which is, nagdepende man ang brain development sa atong edad. No? Kung bata pa ka, it means, dili pa sa develop ang imuhang brain. Kay, through sensory and motor actions naman ka nakakuha. Mo nang magkaanam dako imong edad, magkaanam sad og develop ang imuhang brain, which is more capable on higher thinking skills. So number 2, cognitive development. Cognitive abilities such as attention, memory, reasoning, and problem solving continue to develop and mature as individuals age. Young children may have limited cognitive capacities and may rely more on concrete thinking, while older individuals tend to exhibit more advanced cognitive skills and abstract thinking abilities. This cognitive development have implications for learning and metacognitive processes. So, as nagkadako po ang atong edad, nagkaanam po og develop ang atong cognitive abilities, which is, kung bata pa ta, naatay limit nga cognitive capacities and mas rely ta on concrete thinking. While if we become older, if edad inara na ta, mahimo na tang matured, ato na develop ang atong cognitive abilities, which is more advanced, and we can think more abstract. Through these developments, maka-implicate siya og learning and metacognitive processes. So through sa ato ang sa cognitive development, magkaanam sad og saka nga ato ang thinking skills, which is cognitive or metacognitive abilities. So next is experience and knowledge. As individuals age, they accumulate more life experiences, knowledge, and expertise in various domains. This increased knowledge base can enhance cognitive processes such as memory and problem solving, and influence metacognitive skills. Older individuals may have a broader range of experiences to draw upon and may possess more effective learning strategies and metacognitive awareness. So, sa experience and knowledge, sa mas kanang knowledgeable jud ang mga older people or older ones ani nga kanang factora, which is because daghan naman sila experience in life, daghan na sila na encounter nga mga problems na ilang na agian, which is they can learn, they can develop their cognitive skills and metacognitive abilities, which is mas kuan siya sa mga younger pa, kay dili pa man sila kayo experienced, wala pa sila kayo ikaalam sa real world situations. So number 4, metacognitive development. Metacognitive abilities continue to develop over time. Younger children may have limited and metacognitive skills and may require more guidance and support, while older individuals tend to exhibit more advanced metacognitive abilities. The development of metacognition is closely linked to cognitive development and the ability to reflect on and regulate one's own thinking and learning processes. So, ani nga part, metacognitive development. So, ang young children kuno, nalang sila'y limited metacognitive skills and may require more guidance and support. So, dinhi masud ang scaffolding nga through scaffolding, makahibaw ang usa ka bata, mag-guidance sila sa more knowledgeable person. While ang older individuals, na sila'y maka-exhibit sila more advanced knowledge and metacognitive abilities. Kay mas experiencado naman sila, na sila'y kaalam about sa mga real world situations, which is mahimo na silang independent, dili na sila magdepende sa more knowledgeable person because they themselves is knowledgeable person and more experienced persons. The development of metacognition is closely linked to cognitive development. So ani nga older individuals, kung na-develop ng ilang cognitive skills, so ma-develop na pud ang ilang metacognitive abilities. So lastly is learning styles and preferences. Age can also influence learning styles and preferences. Why? Because younger children may benefit from more hands-on, experiential learning approaches, while older individuals may prefer more independent and self-directed learning experiences. Understanding these age-related differences can inform instructional strategies and create more effective learning environments. So ako nang giingon, ang mga younger children need na siya og more knowledgeable person nga mo guide niya, nga mo tudlo niya unsa una pagbuhat ng usa ka butang aron makahibaw siya ana nga process or ana nga butang. While the older persons gusto niya nga siya na lang, dili na siya magdepende, dili na siya kanang na siya own preferences sa iyang kwan kung unsaon niya pagbuhat ang usa ka butang nga nakahibaw siya nga na siya unsaon niya pagkat-on nga siya ra, dili na siya need og guidance sa usa ka expert person. So next we have level of education. So nga naman pong factor man sad ang level of education. In the study conducted by Kerslow 2012, there were differences in types of strategies according to level of education. The higher the level of education, the more strategies in the reading of passages. So, level of education is considered as factor of learning related to the development of cognition and metacognition. So, here are several reasons sad nganong factors sad siya. So, knowledge and skills. Education provides individuals with access to structured learning opportunities, knowledge, and skills that are essential for cognitive development. Through formal education, individuals acquire foundational knowledge in various subjects such as language, mathematics, science, and social sciences. This knowledge base serves as a building block for further cognitive development and the application of metacognitive strategies. So, through education, dako jud ang impact of education. Why? Because without education, dili ta makahibaw kung saan ang math, kung saan ang science, which is the very basic education nga ato ang kwan nga sa atong daily life ma-apply nato sa ato ang pang-araw-araw na pamumuhay. Mo nang maka factor sad ang level of education nga na the more nga mas higher of level of education nga imong ma-attain, the more knowledge and skills nga imong makatunan, nga imuhang ma-acquire with cognitive or metacognitive bana. So, it means dako jud siya impact aron ma-develop imong cognitive o metacognitive. So, next is cognitive stimulation. Higher levels of education often involve more complex and intellectually challenging tasks, assignments, and projects. Engaging in these intellectually stimulating activities promotes cognitive development by encouraging critical thinking, problem solving, and analytical skills. Education provides opportunities for individuals to engage in higher order cognitive processes which can enhance their cognitive abilities and metacognitive awareness. So, cognitive stimulation. Kung elementary pa ta, complex na ba nga ato ang mga subject? Dili pa no, which is appropriate ra pud sa atong edad because in elementary days, our brain is developing pa. Napata sa kanang mga pre-operational stage, which is more crucial pa siya, dili pa siya kayo develop iyang panghuna-huna, which is lahi ra siya sa higher levels of education kung ari na sa secondary or sa college. Mas matril na ta kung ari ta ma-involve sa challenging tasks, assignments, and projects which can help us develop our cognitive and metacognitive awareness. So, the more nga magkataas imuhang level of education, the more nga mas mag-aim ka sa mga lisod o mga complex nga mga trabahoon or mga assignments nga gusto nimong buhaton kay ana nga way ma-develop ang imong cognitive and metacognitive. So, next is exposure to diverse perspective. Education exposes individuals to a wide range of perspectives, ideas, and experience. So, why man po? Nganong apil man po ning exposure to diverse perspectives? So, through social interaction sa imong mga classmates, nga sa imuhang mga educators, mga kanang peers, mga colleagues, maka-learn man ka ana. You have acquired new knowledge through your peers. Dili kay imurang imuhang pagkat-on. True sa imuhang pagka-expose sa ilahang mga klase-klaseng tao, nakakuha sad kag mga bag-ong perspectives, ideas, and experiences. Naka-learn ka ana through other people. So next is social interaction and collaboration. Education provides opportunities for social interaction and collaboration with peers and educator. So, as I said, sa exposure to diverse perspective, through social interaction and collaboration, makadevelop sa ato ang cognitive and metacognitive abilities. Kay ngano, makapangutana ka na kay opportunity nga maka-interact sa ilaha, makakuha sa ilang ideas, maka-learn sa ilang experiences, makahibaw sa ilang perspectives sa real world situation. Kung unsa ilang mga opinion nga na with your peers and educators, dili lang sa imong kaugalingon, but through your peers and mga educators. So, lastly is lifelong learning. Education instills a mindset of lifelong learning, encouraging individuals to continue seeking knowledge and expanding their cognitive abilities beyond formal education. So, lifelong learning, it means that dili lang jud siya ang imuhang pagdevelop sa imong cognitive and metacognitive abilities does not end inside a traditional classroom, but also the outside environment, which is beyond the formal education. So it means that education is a lifelong learning which can help to develop our cognitive and metacognitive abilities. Kay di ba naman tayo social interaction and collaboration, dili ilaman jud nga anara sa imong classmate or sa imong instructor ka makakuha ideas, perspectives and experience, but through sa imong mga experiences, sa imong mga mga nakaila sa mga kadalanan, kung unsay lahang mga kinabuhi, mga experience sa kinabuhi, makakuha man sad ka adto og knowledge. That's why ma-develop sa imong cognitive and metacognitive abilities. So that's it for level of education. Next is the use of cognitive strategies for instruction. There are specific strategies which when used will improve cognition and metacognition. Those with greater metacognitive abilities tend to be more successful in their cognitive endeavors. Cognitive strategy instruction is an instructional approach that emphasizes the development of thinking skills and processes as a means to enhance learning. So, ang cognitive strategies for instructions, makatabang sa siya to develop your cognitive and metacognitive abilities. So, the greater nga, katong na ay greater metacognitive abilities tend to be more successful in their cognitive endeavors. So, mas na siya higher chances nga mas successful siya. Through cognitive strategy of instructions, it can help develop our thinking skills and processes as means to enhance learning. So, there are few reasons sad nganong factors sad siya. Ang kinaunhan is enhancing information processing. So, cognitive strategies help learners process and organize information more effectively. By using techniques such as chunking, elaboration, and organization, learners can break down complex information into more manageable chunks, make connection between concepts, and create meaningful associations. These strategies facilitate the encoding and retrieval of information, leading to improved cognitive processing and memory. So, ani nga factor, it is to enhance your information processing. Ang cognitive strategies makahelp sa mga students through diverse learning strategies nga different strategies nga gigamit sa usa ka educator or usa ka maestra, usa ka teacher nga maka-learn ang usa ka estudyante because learners have diversity of characteristics. Dili sila pare-parehong characteristics, dili sila parehong abilities nga makadali ra nay short term, nay long term og memory nga estudyante. That's why it is more effective when a teacher used more learning strategies aron lang maka-learn ang ilahang estudyante. So next is promoting deep learning. Cognitive strategies encourage learners to engage in deep processing of information. Deep learning involves actively analyzing and understanding the meaning and significance of information, rather than simply memorizing facts. Strategies such as summarization, questioning, and critical thinking promote deeper understanding the meaning, the significance of information, rather than simply memorizing the facts. Strategies such as summarization, questioning, and critical thinking promote deeper understanding and encourage learners to think critically, make connections, and apply knowledge in different contexts. So, the use of cognitive strategies for instruction promotes deep learning, which is dili lang siya magstay sa identification, memorization. It's because it's so very easy sa mga students nga dali ra memorize, dali ra sila maka-identify. Mas maayo to nga atong masuwayan ang ilahang critical thinking, how to solve a certain complex problem nga magamit jud sa ilahang kanang real life situation, which is can they connect to several concepts or different contexts sa ilahang kuan, dili lang ana nga area nga nga subject kay ilang na memorize na para ra jud ana nga subject. It's because Laura kanang dili siya deep nga knowledge. Mas maayo to nga mas mo promote ta og deep learning because it could help metacognitive abilities, thinking about thinking. So next is facilitating problem solving skills. Cognitive strategies play a crucial role in developing problem solving skills. Strategies like breaking down problems into smaller steps, using trial and error, and employing systematic approaches help learners approach problems more systematically and efficiently. These strategies enhance learners' ability to analyze problems, generate solutions, and evaluate their effectiveness. So, ani nga way, mas dali masabtan, mas dali ma-develop ang cognitive and metacognitive abilities sa usa ka estudyante because you break down each problems into smaller ones. Dali ra nila masabtan, dali ra nila ma-come up ang og solution ang problema because it was breakdown into small pieces. Dili lang siya nga tibuok siya. That's why dali ra sila makasabot, dali ra sila maka-absorb kung say dapat buhaton ana nga situation. So next is transfer of learning. Cognitive strategies promote the transfer of learning from one context to another. When learners acquire and use cognitive strategies effectively, they develop the ability to apply their knowledge and skills in different situations. This transferability of learning is essential for metacognitive development, as learners become more adept at recognizing similarities and differences across contexts and adapting their strategies accordingly. So, transfer of learning, it means na from that certain cognitive strategies, mas-transfer nimo ang context or ang knowledge to your students. Dili lang ana nga certain context but one to another. Mas magamit nimo, mas magamit sa imong estudyante sa laing-laing context, sa imong laing different situations. So different situations magamit na nila kay it helps them to develop their metacognitive abilities. So balik ta sa number 4 because nakalimtan. Support metacognitive awareness. The use of cognitive strategies also fosters metacognitive awareness and self-regulation. When learners engage in cognitive strategies, they become more aware of their own thinking processes and gain insight into their strengths and weaknesses. So, supporting metacognitive awareness can help your students self-regulated. So, what do you mean by self-regulated? Kanang ilahang kaugalingon nga assessment sa ilahang kaugalingon. Unsa nila pag ilahang giunsa nila pag process o pag insight sa ilahang strengths and weaknesses. They can monitor their understanding, evaluate their learning progress, and make adjustment as needed. So that is self-regulated. So there are also more factors related to the development of cognitive and metacognitive. One of these is motivation. Motivation plays a crucial role in learning and cognitive development. When learners are motivated and have a sense of purpose, they are more likely to engage actively in the learning process, persist in the face of challenge, and apply cognitive and metacognitive strategies effectively. Motivation can be intrinsic or driven by internal factors like curiosity and interest, or intrinsic, driven by external rewards or incentives. So, apil sa di ay ang motivation. Without motivation, ganahan ka ang usa ka estudyante nga mo eskwela, ganahan mo ka siya mo participate na ang certain activity kung wa siya motivation, mo na nga need crucial rules sad ang ang motivation has a crucial role in learning and cognitive development. Without motivation, a learner has no interest in learning or developing its cognitive and metacognitive abilities. So social interaction is the next. Interacting with others and engaging in collaborative learning experiences can enhance cognitive and metacognitive development. Through social interaction, learners can exchange ideas, receive feedback, and engage in discussions that promote critical thinking and metacognitive reflection. Peer learning, group work, and classroom discussion provide opportunities for learners to develop cognitive and metacognitive skills through social interaction. So, ang social interaction day po, makatabang po siya sa pagdevelop sa metacognitive abilities sa usa ka learner. Through social interaction, they can engage into discussions that promotes critical thinking and metacognition reflection. Through peer learning, group work, and classroom discussions that can provide opportunities for them to develop cognitive and metacognitive skills through social interactions. So next is cultural and environmental factors. Cultural and environmental factors can shape cognitive processes and metacognitive development. Why? Because cultural beliefs, values, and practices influence how individuals perceive, process, and interpret information. Environmental factors such as access to resources, educational opportunities, and support systems can impact cognitive and metacognitive development. It is important to consider the cultural and environmental context in which learning takes place to support optimal cognitive and metacognitive growth. So, each student has different culture and environmental beliefs. So, cultural beliefs ta una. First, kay religion. Dili man jud ta parehatan og religion. So, it could affect their cognitive and metacognitive abilities. It depend on their religion kung unsa ilahang doktrina or unsa ilang pagtuo. Like Muslim, like Roman Catholic or non-Roman Catholic, mga born again person, mga another types of religions nga lain-lain og pagtuo. So, sa environmental factors sad kanang access nila sa resources, for example, sa library. Kuha sila daghang libro sa library, ma-develop kahay lang cognitive and metacognitive abilities. Di ba dili kay because they have no resources, dili sila makabasa og mga context nga maka-gain sila og knowledge. It is also important to consider the environmental context in which learning takes place to support optimal cognitive and metacognitive growth. So, sa classroom, dili po siya, dako ba po siya factor kung unsa ang nasa imuhang environment, kung unsa ang nasa classroom environment ninyo. What if ang usa ka estudyante, for example ang usa ka estudyante, dili siya bright, dili siya moderate ra siya. Pero, makamao siya. kung maminaw siya. Unya, banha ang ihang environment sa classroom, dili siya maka dungog og tarong. So dili gud ma-develop ang ihang cognitive and metacognitive abilities. Kay wa man siya mag-gain nga knowledge. So next is feedback and assessment. Timely and constructive feedback is essential for cognitive and metacognitive development. Feedback provides learners with information about their progress, strengths, and areas for improvement. It helps learners monitor their understanding, adjust their learning strategies, and reflect on their learning processes. So feedback and assessment is also a factor that related to the development of cognitive and metacognitive abilities. Why? Because through feedback and assessment, makahibaw sila ug asa ilang strengths and weaknesses. Kung nasa strengths, which is ila pa nang i-improve. Samot na ang weaknesses. Kung mo feedback ang maestra nga weak sila na nga dapit, maningkamot na sila nga ilang masaka or ilang ma-improve ang ilang weaknesses, which is ma-develop ang ilang cognitive and metacognitive abilities. Dili ra sila magpabilin ana kay kahibaw man sila, ma-motivate sila nga aning dapita, aning nga area is hina ko, I want it to improve. So they want to develop it, they want to kanang more to access more knowledge about that certain area nga weak sila. So lastly is individual differences. Each learner has a unique characteristics, strengths, and challenges that influence their cognitive and metacognitive development. Factors such as learning styles, prior knowledge, learning disabilities, and cognitive abilities can impact how individuals engage with and process information. Recognizing and addressing these individual differences can support personalized instruction and promote cognitive and metacognitive growth. So, usa ka estudyante na dunay lain-lain nga differences. Dili jud na pareha tanang estudyante. Kay wata kay baw sa ilaha na sila tagsang problema. Through their problems nga ilang naagian, nga ilang kuan mo nang dili kayo ma-develop ang ilang cognitive and metacognitive abilities. Dili sila cognitive and metacognitive growth. Why? Because of their mga problema nga kanang mga learning disabilities, especially sa mga children with special needs nga dili ta maka-judge nila nga ingana sila. It's because naman jud tay individual differences. So these factors along the intelligence, age, level of education, and the use of cognitive strategies contribute to the complex and multi-faceted nature of cognitive and metacognitive development and learning. By considering these factors, educators can create supportive learning environments that foster optimal cognitive and metacognitive growth in learners. So, through this kanang factors nga nakahibaw ta, intelligence, age, level of education, use of cognitive strategies for instruction, motivation, social interaction, cultural and environmental factors, feedback and assessment, and individual differences, makakam up ang usa ka educator how to facilitate, how to create a more diverse learning environment. So learning strategies nga makahelp sa mga estudyante to develop their cognitive and metacognitive abilities. Since we are done discussing the factors in learning related to the development of cognitive and metacognitive abilities, here are some suggested strategies to help students process information. So kani suggested ni siya sa mga experts nga nag-study about how to develop cognitive and metacognitive abilities of learners. So first is provide organized instruction. Number 2, use single coherent representation. Number 3, link new material with what is already known. Number 4, carefully analyze the attention demands of instruction. Number 5, recognize the limits of attention. Number 6, recognize the limitations of short-term memory. Number 7, match encoding strategies with the material to be learned. Number 8, provide opportunities both verbal and imaginal encoding. Number 9, arrange a variety of practice opportunities. Number 10, eliminate redundancy. And lastly, help learners become self-regulated. So first, let us tackle provide organized instruction. Provide organized instructions means to deliver clear and structured guidance or teaching to someone. It involves presenting information in a logical and systematic manner, ensuring that the steps or concepts are well ordered and easy to follow. It is to make structure and relations of the material evident to learners through concept maps or other graphic representation. By providing organized instruction, the aim is to enhance understanding, facilitate learning, and promote effective communication between the instructor and the learner. This approach can be applied in various settings such as classrooms, training programs, workshops, or online courses. So next is use single coherent representation. It allows the learner to focus attention rather than split attention between two stimuli. Means to represent information or ideas in a unified and consistent manner. It involves using a clear and logical structure to convey the message or concept, ensuring that all components of the representation are connected and cohesive. So it means that dili ka pwede maggamit og daghang stimuli, which is, for example, image ang usa handwritten. Asa may mas tagdon sa estudyante ang image because it can trigger their imagination kung unsay dapat pasabot ato kaysa sa written na gisuwat na nimo. So next is link new material with what is already known. It is the process of connecting new information or concepts to existing knowledge or understanding. It also refers to the process of connecting new information or concepts to existing knowledge or understanding. When learning something new, it is beneficial to build upon prior knowledge and make connections between the new material and what has been previously learned or experienced. By linking new material with what is already known, learners can enhance their comprehension, retention, and application of the new information. For example, it may involve relating new concepts to familiar examples of analogies, drawing upon previous experiences or knowledge, or making connections between different topics or subjects. By establishing these connections, learners can create a framework that allows them to better understand and integrate the new material into their existing knowledge base. So in linking new material with what is already known helps to provide a context for learning, allows for the transfer of knowledge, and supports the development of a deeper and more meaningful understanding of the subject matter. It also helps learners to recognize patterns, identify similarities and differences, and make associations that aid in the retrieval and application of information. So in linking new material with what is already known, masayon siya kung i-link nimo kung unsay nakatunan na sa mga bata. Dili kay aning adlaw lain nga idea, pagkasunod adlaw lain na sad nga idea. So maglibo ang mga bata, dili sila makarelate kung unsay imong gigamit nga material anang pagkagahapon o pagkakaron, which is more complicated. Dali masabtan sa mga estudyante. So next is carefully analyze the attention demands of instruction. It means to thoroughly assess and evaluate the level of attention and cognitive resources required for effective learning during the instructional process. It involves understanding the mental effort, focus and concentration needed by learners to comprehend and engage with the instructional material. When analyzing the attention demands of instruction, several factors should be considered. These include the complexity of the content, the difficulty level of the task or activities, the novelty of the information, the pace of instruction, and the learner's prior knowledge and abilities. By carefully analyzing these factors, instructors can make informed decisions about how to structure and deliver instruction in a way that optimizes attention and promotes effective learning. So next is recognize the limits of attention. It refers to the understanding and acknowledgement of the finite capacity of attention that individuals have. Attention is a cognitive resource that allows us to focus on specific stimuli, process information, and engage in tasks or activities. However, attention is not limitless, and there are inherent limitations to how much information or stimuli we can effectively process at any given time. So, as Miss Almira said nga, 15 minutes ra jud, according to the study, 15 minutes ra jud ang limit sa attention nga sa usa ka estudyante nga focus siya sa usa ka lesson nga iyang gipaminaw. Mao na nga we should also recognize the limit of attention kay di man nato mapugos ang usa ka estudyante mag-focus sa imuha kung unsa imuhang gi-instruct dira, kung unsa imuhang gi-discuss dira, because mao ra jud to ilang limit nga maminaw sila, mao to ilang ato nga ilahang focus na butang sa imuha. Dali ra sila ma-distract sa awang butang after that 15 minutes limit nga nakafocus sila sa imuha. So next is recognize the limitations of short-term memory. It refers to the understanding and acknowledging the constraints of temporary storage and processing of our short-term memory. So, dapat desa natong i-recognize ang limitations of short-term memory. Kay, dili man tanan bata nga naay long-term memory. For example, nagtudlo ka karon about plus o minus. Pagkaugma, nag-times o divide ka. Inagbalik nimo sa plus o minus, dili na ubang mga bata nga dili na kahibaw. It's because wala nimo siya continue. Wala nimo kanang imura siyang isang bagsakan lang imuhang pagtudlo. Mo na nga we need to recognize the limitation of short-term memory. Kay aron ma-process sa usa ka learner nga ana day na siya nga kanang magamit niya ba dili niya makalimtan, even though short-term siya nga memory, at least recall niya taga adlaw, hangtod nga mahimo na to siya ma-develop to niya to long-term memory. So next is match encoding strategies with the material to be learned. It means to align the methods or techniques used to process and encode new information with the nature and characteristics of the material being learned. Encoding refers to the process of converting incoming information into a form that can be stored and retrieved from memory. So from kwentahay example, ang maestra nag-discuss, so nadungog sa bata ang information. It means nga kung mag-encode na to ato to sa imong brain, ma-decode to niya dito kung unsay buot ipasabot adto, unya ma-store to siya hang memory and can be retrieved. So dili siya short-term memory kay iya mang ma-retrieve. Makaibaw siya unsa to iyahang gi-discuss, unsa gi-discuss sa iyahang maestra. It's because na-store naman sa iyahang hunahuna and then na-encode na sad, which it can be retrieved also. So for example, visual information may be better encoded through techniques such as creating mental images. So inag-encode nimo sa information through visual, mahunahuna nimo unsa jutong mangana unsa tong drawing nato ingana, like for example kanang unsay iyahang texture sa iyang kuan, ma-imagine nimo ang iyahang context. So, on the other hand, verbal or textual information may be better encoded through techniques such as repetition, summarization, or elaboration. So kung ari ta sa verbal or textual, mas maayo gi-encode na to through kanang repetition, balik-balikon hangtod nga dili ma-encode na jud niya, ma-retrieve, mahinumduman na niya bisan pa og dugay na nga pagka-discuss. So next is provide opportunities for both verbal and imaginal encoding. It is to offer experiences that allows learners to engage with information using both verbal and imaginal encoding strategies. So it means that verbal encoding involves processing and representing information through language, while imaginal encoding involves creating mental images or sensory representations of the information. By providing opportunities for both verbal and imaginal encoding, learners can benefit from multiple pathways to encode and consolidate information in their memory. This approach recognizes that individuals have different cognitive strengths and preferences when it comes to processing and retaining information. So, dili lang ka mag-focus sa verbal or sa linguistic. It's because na may uban nga estudyante nga more on sensory details sila, mas dali sila makuan og makakita visual, maka-imagine sila kung unsa tong buot ipasabot ato, unsa tong nga knowledge. So as a teacher, mag-provide jud tag opportunities for both verbal and imaginal encoding. So, next is arrange a variety of practice opportunities. It means that to provide learners with a range of exercises, tasks, or activities that allows them to apply and reinforce their knowledge or skills in different contexts and formats. So, as a teacher, dili ka mag-stick lang sa usa ka strategy sa imuhang way of assessment nimo. Dili ka mag-stick nga puro ra ka identification, puro ra ka fill in the blanks, which is dili man nila ma-apply ang ilahang knowledge and skills nga context kung puro ra ka identification. It is also beneficial sa students kung klase-klase or variety of practice imuhang gamiton, how to assess them or how to mag-base ba kag essay, identification, kanang mga lain pa nga dili la kay ka mag-stick sa usa ka kanang practice, dili ka mag-stick sa usa ka strategy. A variety of practice opportunities can include activities such as problem solving, exercises, case studies, simulations, role-playing, group discussions, hands-on experiments, quizzes, or real-world applications. So these activities engage learners in active learning and provide them with opportunities to practice and refine their understanding, problem-solving activities, critical thinking skills, and practical application of knowledge. Ako nang giingon, mas maayo jud nga mas natay diverse or variety of practice nga pagagamiton sa tong mga estudyante and how to assess them. Kaya aron nga mas ma-apply po nila kung unsa ilang mga opinion, unsa ilang mga ideas about ana nga context and formats. So better use a variety of practice opportunities. So number 10 is eliminate redundancy. To remove unnecessary repetition or duplication of information, content, or elements within a given context. So, redundancy refers to the presence of excessive and repetitive elements that do not contribute to the clarity or effectiveness of the message or content. So, sa teacher, avoid redundancy. Kanang sige bitaw kag balik-balik sa imong gi-istorya, sige balik-balik nga kanang idea, sige nimo balik-balik, sige kag tuyok-tuyok, sige tuyok-tuyok. But wala gihapon nakatabang sa pagpasabot sa imong mga estudyante. It's because mura man to nga content, mura man to nga idea, nagtuyok-tuyok raman ka, wala siya nakatabang to clarify, to more precise nga, mas direct to the point jud about ana nga context. So, as a future teacher, eliminate redundancy. So, lastly is help learners become self-regulated. It is to support and guide learners in developing the ability to independently manage and control their own learning process. So, as a teacher, dili kita ang fountain of knowledge. We are the facilitator of knowledge. So, we are here, we as a teacher, we are the support and guidance to the learners. Ato ra silang guidan, ato ra silang suportaan, ato silang kanang narata silang kilid ba, narata silang kilid to help them in case nga dili sila kay baw unsa una. It is to help them become self-regulated. Mahimo silang independent nga maka-manage sa ilaha o maka-control sa ilahang own learning process. Kita as facilitator of knowledge, igo ra jud ta mag-guide nila. Inaaral jud na nila to become self-regulated. Makatabang ra ta nila nga mahimo silang self-regulated. So kung ang usa ka estudyante mahimong self-regulated, they develop a sense of autonomy and responsibility for their learning. So sila na ang mas nakahibaw na sila kung sa ilang way nga maka-cut-on sila. It's because they have their own assessment of their sa ilang kaugalingon na sila own strategies unsa nila pag-cut-on, how to develop their cognitive and metacognitive abilities, which as kitang teachers is to guide and support talaga jud sa atong mga estudyante.
Good day everyone, I am teacher Marjorie TRAZONA, and now we're going to discuss the continuation of what Ma'am Izavelle Trago have discussed. So, she discussed about the cognitive and metacognitive factors in learning. So now, let's move forward to the implications of cognitive theories on teaching and learning. So please listen carefully. Now, it is important for teachers to develop the highest possible limit the cognitive and metacognitive abilities of students. Why? Because it's essential to equip students with these abilities, because through this, teachers will empower them to become critical thinkers, problem solvers, and self-regulated learners, setting them up for success in all areas of their lives. So it is really important because through this, it'll help the learners to become lifelong learners and independent learners. So it will be best achieved by applying classroom techniques towards this objective. Now, let's proceed to the basic characteristics of a classroom instruction based on cognitive theories. So, the following should be present during classroom instruction so that it will develop or it will enhance the abilities of the students when it comes to cognitive and metacognitive abilities. So, here's the following. So, letter A, emphasis in the active involvement of the learner in the learning process or learning control. So, letter B, metacognitive training. So, sa metacognitive training, naadiri ang self-planning, monitoring, and revising techniques. So now next is the use of hierarchical analysis to identify and illustrate prerequisite relationship. So when we say hierarchical analysis, it is also known as hierarchical modeling or multi-level analysis. So it is a statistical method used to analyze data that has a nested structure. And when we say nested structure, it is the entities that are grouped within one another. So it is particularly useful when dealing with data that is organized in multiple levels or clusters, such as students within the classroom. So kaning use of hierarchical analysis, it is also called as cognitive task analysis procedures. So next one is emphasis on structuring, organizing, and sequencing information to facilitate optimal processing, or nadiri ang outlining, summaries, and advanced organizers. So the last one is creation of learning environment that allow and encourage students to make connections with previously learned material. So the following characteristics, so in conclusion, it is really important because diri it will help the students, as what I've said earlier, nga through this it will enhance or it will develop the cognitive and metacognitive abilities of each students that will be helpful for them. So now let's proceed to the teaching methods based on principles of cognitive learning theory. So the first one is all about cognitive apprenticeship. So I know nga kay bawo na mo ani since gi-discuss naman ni pagniagi. So when we say cognitive apprenticeship, it is a method of helping students grasp concepts and procedures under guidance of teacher or expert. So here are the following phases of instruction. So it's like example lang sa cognitive apprenticeships. So the first phase of instruction, when it comes to cognitive apprenticeship, or simply example, is the first one is modeling. So the teacher does the task or explain the process first. So here, so example kanang gahatag og activity si teacher. So ako maghatag og activity, then I'll just going to demonstrate how to do that certain task first, or I'll give an examples for you to understand. Then after that, kamo na mohimo sa activity kay baw naman mo unsaon. So the second one is coaching. So here, the students do the same task and teacher observe the students, give feedback on how to do it. So here, I'm going to give you an activity, kintahay. Tapos while doing the activity, I'm just going to observe every one of you, then tanaw na to or I'm just going to observe kung asa dapit kung nabay mga sayop, then I'll going to teach you within that certain part para makasabot mo and makamao on ma-successful or ma-accomplish ninyo ang certain activity nga inyong ginahimo. So next example is the articulation. So students are asked to think out loud about how they perform the task and offers reasons for these strategies. So teacher can give feedback and determines if there are misconception. So the next one is the reflection. So students retrospectively think of their performance in completing the task. So here, you, the students, reflect on what you've learned or your understanding about the previous topic or activity. So here, it is important since you're going to discuss or talk about what you've learned from that certain topic or kanang concept nga ginadiscuss sa teacher. So the last one is the exploration. So teachers urge the students to identify the problem, formulate hypotheses, and seek information to solve it. So here in exploration, the students will learn independently because they're going to solve a certain problem with their own. They're going to explore and share their ideas, their own ideas. So that's why here, so kanang isa example aning koan sa kanang cognitive apprenticeship, dire ang kanang exploration, the students will learn on their own independently. But still, here the teacher can still give or still give support sa kung unsa man gani ang kanang problem or kuan sa teachers. They can learn independently, but still they can seek kanang kuan help for the teachers, especially if they found difficulty within that activity. So that's all when it comes to the teaching methods on principles of cognitive learning theory. So the second method based on the cognitive learning theory is the reciprocal teaching. So here, an instructional activity in the form of dialogue or exchange between teachers and student about certain parts of the lesson. So for example, I'm going to discuss first the topic or concepts about adjectives, and then after that, or I'm going to discuss first the concepts about adjectives, then I'm going to give examples or how to identify the adjectives within a certain sentence. Then after that, we're going to have an activity, or I'm going to give you an activity, and after that, kamo na po akong pa discussion or unsa inyong nasabtan regarding about ana sa inyong answer. Am I understood? Okay, very good. So now let's proceed to the next types or methods of based on principles of the cognitive learning theory. So now let's proceed to the third method. So the third method is the anchored instruction. It involves the use of anchors while doing instruction, like stories, cases, or situations. So it is essentially problem-based. So here, in anchored instruction, students must engage in a variety of activities such as researching historical texts, analyzing historical artifacts, conducting interviews with experts, and collaborating with their peers to gather information and clues. So, am I understood? Is it clear? Okay, very good. So next method is the inquiry learning. It resembles the scientific inquiry method, and it helps the students develop their higher order thinking skills by engaging them in investigating an issue or formulating hypotheses to find solutions to a problem. So, example tingali ani. So, it is clear na ang example ani is ang research or thesis. So, the students are then encouraged to explore the topic by conducting research. So, that's what I've said. Gathering data and analyzing various sources of information such as articles, scientific studies, and documentaries. They may also engage in discussions, group works, and hands-on experiments to deepen their understanding. Now, let's proceed to the fifth method based on the principles of cognitive learning theory. So, we have here discovery learning. In this approach, students interact with their environment, manipulate things, explore, do experiments for them to discover principles and important relationship. So, let's imagine a science class studying the concept of gravity. So instead of starting a lecture or textbook explanation, the teacher sets up a series of experiments that allow students to explore and discover the principles of gravity on their own. So here, the students can learn independently on their own. So the teacher provides materials such as balls, ramps, and various objects of different weights. The students are then asked with designing and conducting their own experiments to investigate how gravity affects the motion of each object. So here, the teacher will just serve as a facilitator as the students are discovering new learning on their own. So, am I understood? Okay, very good. Now, let's proceed to the next and last method. So the last method is the problem-based learning. So it is a real-life problem or an L-structured question presented to the students. So here in problem-based learning, there are many possible solutions and the students are asked to find or come up with the most appropriate or best solution. So for an instance, example, your English teacher drop a problem or give you a certain situation that shows problem in the society or our community, like the proper or I mean improper segregation of garbages, like I know nga rampant gyud ni siya kanang basura bisag asa ra ilabay, right, like pareha na labi na jud anang mga plastic. So the teacher, English teacher, wants you to write a persuasive essay, and that essay you're going to write or state what will be your solution to that certain problem. So that will be an example of problem-based learning. The teacher give certain situation or problem and you're going to come up with solutions for that one. So nasabtan na ba? Or am I understood? Okay, very good.
So this time we have an activity. In activity number 1, you have to identify the following statement kung saan na siya ang buot ipasabot. In activity number 2, there are 3 questions. Each questions have 5 points. So, na siya 5 points corresponding 5 points sa usa ka questions. So, the activity will be passed on Tuesday sa time po nato ni Ma'am Almira. So, that is our report and thank you very much.